Dear students, today we will discuss the one more case of a friction that is called kinetic friction. We have studied the cases of static friction. Static friction when bodies are at rest. When suppose one body is at rest at another body, the friction when we apply force, the friction developed in that body is called static or limiting friction. But today we will discuss the steady friction of moving objects. When one body is moving over the surface of another body, that friction is called kinetic friction. The force of friction which comes into play when body is in state of steady motion over the surface of another body is called kinetic friction. That means इससे पहले जो हमने friction पढ़ी है, that means when the bodies are at rest, when we have applied a force, the force developed in the bodies which are at rest is called static or limiting friction. उसका maximum value of static friction होगा या limiting friction. When the one body is in motion over the surface of another body, we call it is called having a kinetic friction. It is having a kinetic friction. That means here we will see here, suppose this is one body, suppose another body is on the surface of one body. Here it is moving, it is in motion. Suppose here we applied a force here it is having some velocity, but it will come to rest when it is moving over the surface of another body. It will come to rest after some time. That means v will become 0 after some time. That means force of friction is that how it becomes in rest. When it is moving over the surface of another body, it will come to rest after some time. It will come to rest when there is again force applied on it in opposite direction. This force is acting continuously. This is frictional force acting on continuously so that its velocity will become 0. That means here this frictional force creates an acceleration here. Acceleration when that is velocity change, ultimately we get its velocity 0. That means another force here, it is called when the body is in motion, this type of friction it is called kinetic friction. Force of kinetic friction. Force developed in the opposite direction when one body is in motion over the surface of another body, this type of friction it develops, it is called kinetic friction. You know that in previous classes we have discussed that static friction is directly proportional, force of static friction is directly proportional to normal reaction. In this also case we can write here force of kinetic friction here Fk. I write that force of kinetic friction is directly proportional to normal reaction here, and we can say Fk is equal to mu, or here mu is a coefficient of kinetic friction. It is coefficient of kinetic friction. It is coefficient of kinetic friction. We can say here uk mu k, it is a coefficient of kinetic friction. This is the same of that of us or mu s means the coefficient of state. No, this mu k is different, its value is different as that of mu value of mu k. That means coefficient of kinetic friction is different that of mu s is coefficient of static friction. It has been found practically that value of mu k, coefficient of kinetic friction is very less than the coefficient of static friction. That means its value is very less as compared to the value of the static friction. There are two types of this. That means when one body is in motion over the surface of another body, that is the force of friction developed in this case is called kinetic friction. And there are two types of kinetic friction. Please remember there are two types of kinetic friction. There are two types of kinetic friction. Number one is sliding. Number two, it is rolling. Sliding, rolling. How can we differentiate the how sliding and rolling friction? Suppose this is in one body and another body is in contact of this body here. Suppose this is here A, B, C, D. Okay. when it slides over the surface of another body, it is here A, B, it is pushing at this point A, B, C, D. That means D, surface D is in contact with surface 1. This is our body 1. Here at position, at this position, the surface D is contact of body 1. Here again the surface D is also is contact with body 1. This type of motion is called, it's called a sliding form, sliding kinetic friction. Sliding kinetic friction. That means sliding kinetic friction is when the same surface is in contact, when the same surface is in contact with the body. Okay. This type of kinetic friction is called sliding kinetic friction. Number 2, I give you the example of number 2, rolling. It is number 2, rolling friction, rolling kinetic friction. या रोलिंग फ्रिक्शन में क्या है, रोलिंग फ्रिक्शन. स्लाइडिंग में ये होता है, अगर बॉडी यहाँ के दिस सरफेस डी इज इन कंटैक्ट विद बॉडी, दिस अनदर बॉडी at any other times, again this surface is in contact with body, with the same body. That means the contact, when the same surface is in contact with the body. When we say, suppose I take the example of another, that is rolling. I make here again a diagram. Here this is body 1. Suppose I can make here, this is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3, this is position 4. Suppose this is A, D, A, B, C and D. Okay, this is here, it becomes here A, B, C and D. Here it becomes A, B, C and D. Here it becomes A, B, C and D. If we look towards this, surface D is contact with body 1. Here surface A is contact with body A 1. Here the surface B is contact with body 1. Here surface C is contact with body 1. If such a position arises, this type of friction is called rolling friction. That means rolling friction, in rolling friction the surface in contact will keep on changing. That means it is surface which is in contact with body 1 will keep on changing. That means in rolling friction, surface of rolling will keep on changing. It has been found experimentally, please remember, it has been found experimentally. स्लाइडिंग फ्रिक्शन, जो इसका स्लाइडिंग फ्रिक्शन है, स्लाइडिंग फ्रिक्शन is less than, value of sliding friction is less than static friction. But in general, rolling friction is very less than sliding friction, very less than sliding friction. Sliding, it is very less than static friction. That means the rolling friction is very less than sliding friction, very less than sliding friction is very less than rolling friction. That means if we have to apply a force here, we have to apply force. We know that force is called mu into R. R is one normal action, that is load. Value of mu, that means the value of mu is very less than, value of mu has been found very less than in rolling friction. That means it is a coefficient of friction. That means the value of mu has been very less than rolling friction. With the help of this, we are able to calculate the force applied on anything. It has, now this is the kinetic friction, and in kinetic friction we have discussed the sliding friction as well as the rolling friction. I hope you have got this. Inshallah, we will meet in the next class. In next class, this is the last class of the regarding the friction. We will try to find out the angle of friction and what are the measures necessary फॉर रिड्यूसिंग ए फ्रिक्शन. हम ऐसे मेजर्स इस्तेमाल करते हैं इन ऑर्डर टू रिड्यूस ए फ्रिक्शन. दैट विल मीट इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. आई होप यू हैव गॉट दिस. Thank you very much. Inshallah, in next class we will meet it. Inshallah, we will meet tomorrow. Thank you very much.